Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lisa Buenaventura, Interim Co-Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs. And this afternoon we're here to remember and to honor the victims from last year's Boston Marathon tragedy, the survivors, and also all of the helpers. Some of you have been here since noon watching the tribute downtown that honored all of those who were part of that experience. Today we're going to talk about unity, the unity that we have as a community, the resilience that comes from tragedy and from getting up and moving forward, and what Reverend Adrian calls purposeful hope. Before we each share our reflections this afternoon, I just wanted to recognize and remember those who lost their lives and those who have been part of our community here. Sean Collier, Lindsay Liu, Martin Richard, and Crystal Campbell, who was a member of our UMass Boston community and who will be honored on Monday as the 5 campuses run in the marathon in her honor. I also want us to recognize those among our faculty and our students who were there last year and who are at the tribute today, but I wanted us to remember them as well and to remember that they're still part of our community. They still need our support, and that we honor them for the work that they did. Professor Adrian Wald and Professor Katie Caffell and the medical sweep team of students who were there to help out the day of the marathon at the finish line. Leah Ottenstein, Irina Callahan, Jufen Chu, Mary Ho, James Boynes, Claire Freehofer, Stephanie Shane, Melinda Sudbury, Jillian Fagan, Angela Pasqualoni, An Lee, Monica Mrook, Christine Marino, Katie Wolgemuth, Sarah Gass, and Spencer Gilfeather. Today, they're downtown with our Chancellor, Mayor, Governor, and Vice President, taking that long walk to the finish line, remembering, and then again, getting up and moving forward as we are going to move forward and continue to move forward as a community. So today, I thank you all for being here, because as a community, as UMass Boston community, we have much to remember and we have much to celebrate. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, and welcome everyone. We have no control over a catastrophe, what it will be, when it will happen, or where it will be. What we have control over is how we respond, how we react, how we treat each other, and how we come together as a community. Lately, there have been so many stories about what we experienced last year on this very day. So many stories told with so much heartfelt emotion. Pictures that bring back memories of that day, and words that capture the facts and the feelings that were experienced. The most poignant of all are the stories about people. People that we know, our relatives, neighbors, our friends, and colleagues. And while the Boston Marathon bombings happened on one day, April 15th, the story has lasted all year. In fact, the story will continue. The story will continue because of the human response of people in Boston, in Dorchester, Watertown, Medford, in Washington, D.C., and from across the world. It is interesting to note that we are changed. Yes, we are changed forever. We are changed because we came together to help each other, to help Boston. Some of the changes are noticeable, like daffodils on the marathon route, ribbons, T-shirts, bracelets, a World Series trophy, less horn blowing in traffic, holding a door open for someone, a smile, a kind face, all symbolizing the resolute pride in the strength of Boston. Some of the less visible changes have been our private sorrow and sadness and sometimes anger, and our personal reactions to every aspect of the tragedies. But through it all, we have learned, and we can apply that learning to making a difference in the future. After all, Boston is proud to be a world center of higher education, and education can change lives and can offer a pathway to a brighter future. Here at our university, I work in University Health Services, where we strive to keep the UMB community healthy and strong through counseling, medicine, and health education. We are on the second floor of Quinn, and we are proud to be a part of the strong UMB community. Last April, you may remember that we made ribbons for everyone. So, we acknowledge that to be strong enough to survive this catastrophe, it is a true test of our resilience, our determination, our fortitude, our generosity, and kindness. It is also a test and a testimonial to our community. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Today we are talking about unity, resilience, and purposeful hope. I wanted to echo some of the words that Vice President Joe Biden just spoke in Boston when he said that his mother always told him that courage is what defines you and your loyalty is what redeems you. And I feel like our city has stepped up, the students of this university, the faculty and staff, stepped up in a time of need, and were defined by their courage, and the situation has been redeemed through their loyalty towards others. Student leaders on this campus stepped up last year when we had the opportunity to honor and remember Crystal Campbell, one of our own, who fell 1 year ago. One of those student leaders who I'm proud to call my friend, who I know stepped up in ways that were above and beyond what would have been asked of anybody, and led opportunities on this campus for us to remember for years down the road exactly what happened a year ago meant to us, is a student by the name of Ignacio Chaparro. He is your incoming student body president, was just recently elected, and I think he has a few words for us this afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I stand here today to join with you in remembering the lives of those who we've lost. Let me begin by asking you a question. What does Boston Strong mean to you? To me, it means that there is a spirit in America. It is one that is made of the peoples that represent this great nation. It is a spirit that defies the challenges and obstacles that it is faced with. It is through the perseverance and unity of the people that this spirit is unbroken and only gets stronger as it is tested by those who wish to attack our home. 1 year ago today, the spirit of this Commonwealth and these United States was tested by the Boston Marathon bombings. Here at home, we saw our nursing students and our professors who valiantly ran towards the finish line to help those who were injured. As a city, we saw the response of our emergency services helping those in need and catching those who were responsible. As a community, we responded positively and with heroism. heroism that defines how resilient and strong we are as a whole. I am more than proud to call this city my home. We as a family came together, recovered, and moved forward, thus negating the tragedy with a triumph and showing those who wish to test our spirit that we are Boston strong. Thank you, and God bless.
Good afternoon. My name is Father Paul Helfrich. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Catholic chaplain here. I wanted to share with you my hope. I'm with a religious community called the Brotherhood of Hope, so the fact that this gathering focuses on hope is dear to my heart. So I want to share with you briefly my hope and a prayer on this anniversary. To do it, to kind of lead into it, I'd like to share with you two brief messages. The first one was from Pope Francis to Cardinal Sean O'Malley as Archbishop of Boston a year ago when he first heard the news in Rome of the attacks here in Boston. I won't read the whole thing, but he first expressed his sorrow at the news and his prayers for all those who were impacted by it. And then he went on to add this: at this time of mourning, the Holy Father prays that all Bostonians will be united in resolve not to be overcome by evil, but to combat evil with good, working together to build an ever more just, free, and secure society for generations yet to come. His message is part of what forms my own hopes and prayers on this anniversary. The second comes from a message that Pope John Paul II gave shortly before he died. It was a gathering of about 800,000 young people, and so I think of us here with all the young people, 16,000 of them here. And he said this. He said, "The aspiration that humanity nurtures amid countless injustices and sufferings is the hope of a new civilization marked by freedom and peace. But for such an undertaking, a new generation of builders is needed, moved not by fear or violence, but by the urgency of genuine love." And then, I think he was 83 at the time, as an elderly man, he went on, "Allow me, dear young people, to consign this hope of mine to you. You must be those builders. You are the men and women of tomorrow. The future is in your hearts and in your hands. God is entrusting to you the task, at once difficult but also uplifting, of working with him in the building of the civilization of love." And so, as we observe this anniversary, my prayer is that one of the fruits, the products of our observance, will include a more renewed resolve to work more earnestly in building a civilization that's marked by justice, freedom, and love. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Adrienne Berry Burton, and I'm a chaplain on campus. I want to recognize, before I keep going, we sent out a few emails to some of our partners in ministry on campus, and this morning, before I went off to another assignment, I had these few yeses: we are willing to be listening ears. Dustin Gardner, if he will stand up, please, and Miriam Bernie. Thank you. And also, I don't see quite yet, Safon Eid also said that he would be willing to listen. And of course, we have our university services who are listening ears, and I and Father Paul, if you need to talk today, and maybe not today, about how you feel and where you are, we will be listening ears. I share this poem. The one I love is no longer in this world. The one I love and miss has been silenced. The void was deafening the whispered conversations, the great shout of laughter that led to happy tears, the giggle, the look of wisdom and unexplainable knowing I must remember and carry in my soul and in my mind of memories as a well of joy, a storehouse of teaching on what matters most in a light, as a light in the path toward the dream. I bear in my heart the dream, a dream of peace and love lived out loud, is in my reach with each choice I make. I will keep the memory of what might have been their life by living love, forgiving boldly, and making peace, the fuel that moves my world. I am the one who bears the light. I am the one who will not be silent in the storm. I will be the one who bears the light and gives life to the dream. A year ago, there were so many places where we felt the pain of violence and where we got to see that light of courage and compassion. People trained and not trained who ran into places of not knowing what the next seconds would bring, but went anyway, who carried themselves into possibly harm's way to take care of others. There are things that their eyes saw and they heard and they smelled, that their lungs carried, that their minds will never be able to forget. And all of that could weigh us all down, and yet we go forward. I keep hearing the song, I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. I've got a feeling that everything's gonna be all right. I've got a feeling everything's gonna be all right. Be all right, be all right, be all right. We make it all right. On Sunday, a man decided that his hate and his racism meant more than anything else. And 3 people, because of their impermanent, just for that moment, geography, lost their lives. 2 bullets that had too clear aim. How we make the world be all right, how we are the future that is more purposeful hope, more joy, more resilience, more beauty, is by we choosing not to hate when somebody tells us we have the right to. When we choose every day to love instead, when there's a message out there that says we have the right to be angry, and in our anger destroy, instead of being the somebodies who create that more beloved community. There's so many ways in which we can make the world better. I have been thinking about the surgeons and the doctors between Mass General and Brigham and Women and Dana-Farber, because I have a few friends who are struggling with cancer, and they had to reshuffle their appointments for weeks after the tragedy. And it turns out that because Mass General was overwhelmed and Brigham and Women's was overwhelmed, the surgeons and the doctors at Dana-Farber shifted their schedules and were doing surgeries that they hadn't planned to do. It was the way they could help. It was the way they could be the bearers of hope. It was the way they could help the healing. Each one of us has a light in us that when we are generous, when we choose to be more beautiful than we even think we might be able to be, we create a gorgeous world. And to have the ripples of that spill out everywhere, light washing out the darkness, light washing out the pain, light bringing new life. That's who we can be. Thank you.
I don't know the right words that was trying to think of something to say, and it's definitely a very difficult topic to come up with something to say. But something I just kept coming back to was something I read in high school from Charles Dickens. I'm sure many of you have read Tale of Two Cities. It opens with, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the season of light, it was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair." And I believe that these words capture what happened a year ago today, simply and profoundly at the same time. It was a horrific, horrific event that we all lived through. But there was hope, and there was light in it too. Seeing the city come together brought hope and showed how strong Boston was as a community, as well as a city in America and a people. That's really all I have to say, and thank you, and apologies again for being late.
Billy Jones Jr. is going to give us some reflecting music.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sherrod Williams, and I serve as the Interim Dean for Co-Curricular Learning and Development. Thank you to our speakers, and thank you to Willie Jones for that wonderful playing as we think and reflect on the tragedies from a year ago. Now we are going to broadcast the live broadcast from downtown as we prepare for the moment of silence.